Magandang umaga sa ating lahat. So, ang tatalakayin natin ngayon is the theory of consumers' behavior, wherein nakakaapekto siya sa aming kumpanya, which is the Black Ribbon Company, na nagsusupply ng mga chocolate cakes. So, ano-ano nga ba yung mga factors na nakakaapekto sa consumers' behavior? Una is the cultural factors, which is a very primitive factor which always based on the customs, traditions, and beliefs. So, ito yung mga nakaugalian na ng mga consumers na pagbasehan para sa kanilang mga pamimili. Next is the social factor, which includes references from social environment and according to role and status. Social environment, wherein nakakaapekto yung kung ano yung mga nasa paligid mo. Next is the personal status, which includes the size, lifestyle, occupation, economic circumstances, personality, and self-concept. So, i-connect natin siya dun sa business namin na chocolate cake. Sabi dito is personal. Diba ang chocolate cake or cakes is palaging meron tayong cake kapag may mga handaan like birthdays, ganun, family reunion, or Christmas. So, isa yun sa mga nakakaapekto sa pagbili. Next is the psychological. Motivation and perception, learnings, beliefs, and attitudes. So, yun yung 4 na factors na nakakaapekto sa consumer's behavior. So, dito is, meron tayong nakikita na table. So, dito sa table, makikita natin yung quantity or the consumption of the consumers, the total utility, and the marginal utility. Wherein, ang mga data sa table na ito ay galing sa survey na ginawa ng aming company upang malaman natin ang behavior ng mga bumibili ng ating chocolate cake. So, nandito yung consumption 1 to 7 at ang total utility na katumbas ng bawat consumption ng ating consumer. So, makikita natin sa consumption 1, ang katumbas niyang total utility is 120. Next, consumption 2, 210, 270, 300, 300, 270, and 240. So, ito yung total utility. Next, meron tayong nabanggit kanina na marginal utility. So, paano ba natin makukuha itong marginal utility? By the way, ang total utility, this is the level of satisfaction ng ating mga consumers. So, ang formula natin para sa marginal utility is the change in total utility divided by the change in quantity. So, para makuha yon is kailangan nating gawin yung formula. So, yun nga, sa consumption 1, ang katumbas niyang marginal utility is 120. Consumption 2, 90, consumption 3, 60, consumption 4, 30, consumption 5, 0, consumption 6 is negative 30, and then consumption 7 is negative 60. So, makikita na natin na may parehong total utility, which is in consumption 4 and 5, equivalent to 300, and consumption 3 and 6 with a total utility of 270. Makikita na naman natin sa marginal utility is sa consumption 5, naging 0 siya, which means after ng 4 slices of cake or 4 consumption is na-maximize na. So, kapag sumobra pa tayo dito, pagdating ng 6, nakita natin na nag-negative na siya, which is the negative 30. Which means kapag napasobra na sa consumption ng ating consumer is maaring maumay na siya or feel sick about for eating the chocolate cake. So, this is the graph na galing din sa table. Graph natin siya. So, makikita natin dito ang pinagsama na natin yung marginal utility and the total utility. Then, next for the conclusion natin is, as the consumption gets higher, the level of satisfaction also gets higher. Makikita nga natin dito na consumption 1 to consumption 4, nag-increase siya. Nag-increase yung total utility from 120, naging 300. And then, there is a same level of satisfaction sa atin ng consumption 3, consumption 6, which is 270, and the consumption 4 and 5 with a total utility of 300. So, sa marginal utility naman, there is a high level of satisfaction at consumption 1 and 2. Sila yung highest na nasa ranking natin sa level of satisfaction. So, ang epekto nito sa kumpanya is maaari kaming makapaglabas ng products na nakalagay lang sa box na may 4 slices lang ng cakes para sa isang tao, kasi yun yung epekto nitong theory of consumers behavior na grinaph natin.
Hi everyone, I'm Mary Jonamel Sanchez Papa, and today I will explain you about the theory of production of our company. So first, what is cheer production? Cheer production is an analysis of output to input relationship. Output serves as a tool in analyzing cost to output relationship. So these are the terms of our cheer production. So first, we have marginal product. Additional product brought by adding an additional resources input. For example, the labor in the kitchen of our restaurant. With no cooks, the production will be 0, right? But if we hired some chef like that, syempre the production will increase to 10 meals, yielding a positive marginal product of 10. Second, we have diminishing returns, point where marginal product decreases despite an increase in resource input. So for example, a worker may produce 100 per hour for 40 hours. In the 41st hour, the output of the worker may drop to 90 units per hour. So this is known as diminishing returns because the output has started to decrease or diminish. So third, we have isoquant. Yes, isoquant. Combinations of resource input that produce the same level of output. Number 4, we have isocost. Combinations of production resources that given by budget can buy. For example, a producer can purchase combinations like 25 units labor plus 20 units capital, 30 units labor plus 16 units capital, or 12.5 units labor plus 30 units capital, because all of them fulfill the equation at given prices and outlay. And then, so this way, an isocost line is also known as outline or outlay line. And then, next we have number 5, the productivity, the ratio of output over the input. For example, a certain equipment can produce 10 tons of output per hour. And then economic productivity is the value of output obtained with 1 unit of input. For example, a certain equipment can produce 10 tons of output per hour. Economic productivity is the value of output obtained with 1 unit of input. For example, if a worker produces in an hour an output of 2 units whose price is 10,000 each, then his productivity is 20,000 each. Number 6, we have return to scale. measures how output changes relative to resource inputs. For example, if input increased by 3 times, but output increases by 3.75 times, then the firm of economy has experienced an increasing return of scale. For example, if input is increased by 3 times, but output is reduced 2 times, the firm economy has experienced increase in return of scale. Then we have our concepts of diminishing returns. Production of functions shows that stretching the use of variable resources against the limit, fixed resources decreases additional production. Stretching resources use the point of imbalance of overusing needs. Counterproductive condition which is directly cause diminishing or even negative returns says too many cooks spoil the broth. Applies to production rather. So here's the schedule. When marginal product decreases as the total product increases, while average product maintains the gap between the marginal product and the total product. So the formula of marginal product and average product are the same, which is output divided into the input. So 5 divided by 1 is equals to 5 for the marginal product, and then 10 divided by 2 is 5, 16 divided by 3 is 6, like that. Yep. And 5, and so on. 3 and 0 and 2, 3. And then we have our average product. It's just the same actually. 5.3, 5.2, 4.5, 4, and the last one is 3. So that's the schedule, as you can see. So after we compute the schedule, here's the graph. As you can see, the total product increases in an increasing rate when marginal product increases. This pattern provides a total product curve with the shape of convex. It then continues till marginal product reaches the maximum point of total product. And then for marginal product, there is the same level of marginal product at label 1, 2, and 4, which is 5. As the labor total product increases, the marginal product decreases, but there is a high marginal product at a level 2, which is 6, until it goes down to negative 3. There is a diminishing product because even though the input is increasing, the marginal product decreases. And then for the average product, when average product is rising, marginal product lies above the average product. When average product is declining, marginal product lies below average product. At the maximum of average product, marginal and average product equal each other. Thus, it maintains the gap between the total product and the marginal product. So that is all about our theory of production. Thank you for listening, everyone.
Good day guys, I am Yala Rajin Miguel and I am your CEO. So our team will talk about the theory of consumers' behavior. We all know that consumers have an unending needs, and we or us as a producers need to satisfy or fulfill their perception in consuming. And now we will talk about the factors affecting the consumer's behavior to turn that factors into a silver lining. So number one factors that we have is the cultural factors. When we say cultural factors, it is a very primitive factors which is always based upon the tradition, culture, and beliefs. When we heard that primitive, it is about the happenings at the early times na na-adapt natin kasi malakas yung impact sa atin. And these cultural factors have a significant effect on an individual's buying decision. One time, I've heard to my friend na mayroong isang religion na kung saan prohibited sa kanila ang kumain ng mga pagkain na may tatak na halal. And up until now is ginagawa nila yon as a sign of respect sa kung anong meron or saang grupo sila nagbilang. And yun. So, moving on, number 2, we have these social factors. When we say social factors, it includes references from social environment according to role and status. As a perfect example for these social factors is that, example, mayroong individual na kasapi sa mayroong low socio-economic status. Ngayon, hindi naman siya bibili ng isang litrong mantika na nagkakahalaga ng 100 pesos sa isang gamitan lang. Kasi doon napapasok yung sinasabi nilang budget line na tinatawag. So as we have touched the budget line, when we say budget line, it is the same budget the money can buy. Kaya siguro mayroong budget line kasi minsan may mga product na pagkamahal-mahal hindi because of the quality but because of the brand name. Binibili na lang ba natin yung mga brand name, kumbaga. So as for me, for my opinion only, budget line serves as a limitation line. Number 3 factor would be the personal factor. It includes the size, lifestyle, occupation, self-concept, personality, and the economic circumstances. A perfect example for this personal factor is that mayroong padre de pamilya na ang trabaho is sa construction worker siya. And then, normally dito sa province, ang 350 a day is malaki na. Ngayon, may 10 siyang anak, pang 11 yung asawa niya, pang 12 siya. Ngayon, hindi naman bibili yung construction worker ng 60 pesos per kilo na bigas para lang sa isang hainan. Kasi ilalaanan niya pa yung pang-ulam at yung mga pangangailangan ng mga anak niya pati ng kanyang asawa. Last factor is the psychological factor. It includes motivation and perception, attitude, education, and beliefs. When we say psychological factors, dito eksena yung Maslow's hierarchy of needs na kung saan kabilang dito yung biological needs, safety needs, love and belongingness, cognitive, aesthetic, self-actualization, and transcendence. When we say biological needs, ito yung mga pagkain, the clothes, and the shelter. Yan. And team, we should bear in mind that under consumers' behavior, we have this total utility and the marginal utility. When we say total utility is the functions of consumption, while marginal utility is the satisfaction from the last consumption of unit. And for your better understanding, I made here a schedule. As you can see, there are 3 columns: the consumption, the total utility, and the marginal utility. And the data in the schedule is here. Grinaph ko siya. Yan, para makita yung differences kung paano. Yan. And then, I also interpreted the data from total utility, marginal utility, and for them as a whole. So, here it is. So, my interpretation in the total utility is that as consumption gets higher, the level of satisfaction also gets higher, and the same of satisfaction at consumption 6 and 7, until it goes down and stops at consumption 8 with a level of satisfaction at 27. While my interpretation in the marginal utility is that there is a high level of satisfaction at consumption 1 at 7 level of satisfaction as it goes down to consumption 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7 until 0 level of satisfaction and stop it at level 1 of satisfaction at consumption 8. Therefore, it is found out that consumers' behavior expresses true level of satisfaction according to the total utility that functions as a consumption, while marginal utility gives level of satisfaction until the last consumption. Thus, total utility and marginal utility are interrelated upon consumption. That would be all for our meeting. Thank you for your time and attention. Meeting adjourned.
Our company is one of the oligopolistic market here in Philippines. An oligopoly market structure is one that is composed of a small number of firms having control of a large proportion of a certain market. There are 4 major indicators to see if an oligopoly exists within a market. The first is firm interdependence, marginal cost, marginal revenue, and price elasticity. The firm interdependence can be indicator or characteristic of a oligopoly market. In firm interdependence, yung bawat firm is nakadepende sa bawat isa't isa. For example situation, bago sila gumawa ng plan kung itataas ba nila yung kanilang presyo ng kanilang produkto or production, kailangan muna nilang i-consider yung action ng mga kanilang rival firm. And the next indicator is price elasticity of demand, and it can be defined as the level of responsiveness of demand based on a change in price. And then the marginal revenue. It can be defined as the additional revenue gain from one addition unit of output. And then the last indicator is the marginal cost, and it can be defined as the cost of producing one additional unit of output. And there are also 9 characteristics of oligopoly. First is the interdependence. This fact is recognized by all the firms in an oligopolistic industry. If a small number of sizable firms constitute an industry and one of these firms start advertising campaign on a big scale or design a new model of the product which immediately captures the market, it will surely provoke counter moves on the part of rival firms in the industry. Then, advertising. Advertising is a powerful instrument in the hands of an oligopolist. A firm under oligopoly can start an aggressive advertising campaign with the intention of capturing a large part of the market. Other firms in the industry will obviously resist its defensive advertising. Next is group behavior. In oligopoly, the most relevant aspect is the behavior of the group. There can be 2 firms in the group, or 3, or 5, or even 15, but not a few hundred. Whatever the number, it is quite small so that each firm knows that its action will have some effect on other firms in the group. In contrast, other perfect competition, there are a large number of firms each attempting to maximize its profits. The other characteristic of oligopoly is competition. This leads to another feature of an oligopolistic market, the presence of competition. Since under oligopoly, there are few sellers. A move by one seller immediately affects the rivals. So each seller is always on the alert and keeps a close watch over the moves of its rival in order to have a counter move. And then the barriers to entry of firms. As there is a keen competition in a oligopolistic industry, there are no barriers to entry into or exit from it. However, in the long run, there are also some types of barriers to entry which tend to restrain new firms from entering the industry. Another feature of oligopoly market is the lack of uniformity in the size of firms. Firms differ considerably in size. Some may be small, others very large, Such a situation is asymmetrical. This is very common in the American economy. Asymmetrical situation with firms of an uniform size is rare. And then next is the existence of price rigidity. In oligopoly situation, each firm has to stick to its price. If any firm tries to reduce its price, the rival firms will retaliate by a higher reduction in their prices. This will lead to a situation of price war, which benefits none. On the other hand, if any firm increases its price with a view to increase its profits, the other rival firms will not follow the same. Hence, no firm would like to reduce the price or to increase the price. And then the unique pattern of pricing behavior. The rivalry arising from interdependence among the oligopolies leads to two conflicting motives. Each wants to remain independent and to get the maximum possible profit. Toward this end, they act and react on the price output movements of one another, which are a continuous element of uncertainty. The last characteristic of oligopoly is the indeterminateness of demand curve. In market structure other than oligopolistic, demand curve faced by firms is determinate. The interdependence of the oligopolies, however, makes it possible to draw a demand curve for such seller except for the situation where the form of interdependence is well defined.
Hello everyone! So, today, ang meeting natin is about paano natin naibenta yung mga plano natin kung paano natin naibenta ang ating mga damit sa pamamagitan ng pag-apply ng the law of demand and supply. So, when we say demand, the law of demand is to focus on the price and the quantity demanded. So, sa quantity demand, 1, as the price decreases, the quantity demand increases. So it is inversely proportional, therefore it is standard form. So sa quantity demand 1 na ginawa nating plano noon, after summer season ng last year, binenta natin or ginawa nating sale ang ating mga swimwear sa mababang presyo. So dahil mababang presyo, maraming nag-demand na tao. So demand 2, as the price decreases, the quantity demand also decreases. So it is direct proportional, therefore it is ceteris paribus. So sa demand 2, binenta natin yung ating mga jackets or anything na damit pang lamig sa lower price. Dahil summer season ngayon, mga nagde-demand, syempre mababa. Nag-decrease yung demand dahil summer season. Sino ba naman magdadamit ng panlamig na damit ngayon sa sobrang init? So, lalo na in order to compete other sellers, binabaan natin yung price ng ating mga damit panlamig para ito ay maibenta. Kaya natin binabaan yung price. Kasi konti yung nagde-demand. So, sa supply naman, so when we say supply, the law of supply is to focus on the price and the quantity supply. So sa quantity supply 1, as the price increases, the quantity supply decreases. So it is inversely proportional. Therefore, it is ceteris paribus. So sa supply 1, so summer season ngayon, tinaasan natin yung presyo ng hindi. Pag tinaasan natin yung presyo ng ating damit panlamig, syempre yung quantity ng supply ay bababa. Bakit? Dahil summer season ngayon at pag inag-increase tayo ng price sa ating ibebentang panlamig na damit, kaunti ang taong bibili. Kasi mahal na nga at hindi pa siya magagamit sa init ng panahon. So, yung item na hindi mabebenta, kaya yung supply niya ay bababa o magdi-decrease. So, di tayo order ng maraming damit panlamig sa ating supplier kasi hindi siya season niya at konti lang yung bibili. So, yun yung sa supply 1 natin. So, sa supply 2, as the price increases, the quantity supply also increases. So, it is directly proportional. Therefore, it is standard form. Sa quantity supply 2, tataasan natin yung presyo ng ating swimwear dahil summer season ngayon. So, dahil summer season ngayon, maraming magdidemand ng ating mga swimwear. So, maraming magdidemand ng ating mga swimwear dahil summer season ngayon, tayo ay kukuha ng maraming supply sa ating supplier. So, yun lang yung ating summary ng law of demand and supply sa ating pagbenta ng ating damit.